What is wrong with the world today? I am. That's it. Those are the words attributed to G.K. Chesterton. And there's a lot of truth, I think, in them. What is wrong with the world today? I am. The line between good and evil passes through the heart of every man. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. There's a lot of truth in those words. And that's what the liturgy is telling us today. When we read the gospel, Jesus starts by predicting his death. He says, the Son of Man, Jesus, is to be handed over to men. Men. The women are clear, but no. No, you're in trouble too. And they will kill him. 3 days after, the Son of Man will rise. In the movie, The Passion of the Christ, I remember hearing when they were filming it in Italy, there were some of the legionary priests who were from time to time on set. And so they heard some of the different things happening. And I remember, I think one of them was telling me that in the movie, when they show the Christ, the nails being nailed into his hand, all you see is there's someone holding his arm, Christ's hand, and there's the nail, and someone's nailing it. They say, well, the hands holding the nail and driving in the nail were Mel Gibson's hands, the director. Because he has this profound awareness that his sin, his culpability is responsible for Christ's death. And that's what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says. It is our sin that caused Christ's death. So he wanted to show, even in the movie, even if people didn't know maybe, but it was him who was crucifying Christ. The line between good and evil passes through every human heart. So after Christ predicts his passion, right after that, you say, why these two passages put together? So they came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, Jesus asked them, so what were you arguing about the way? They remained silent. Why? Because they were arguing about who's better. They are the ones arguing. It's their sin that in the end is going to crucify Christ. It's going to be responsible for him. That's what St. James says in the first letter. In the second reading. He says, where do wars and where do conflicts among us come from? Is it not from your passions that make war within your members, even within yourself? Within my own life, there's one story. I mean, I have many weaknesses and faults, but one story always comes to mind when I think about this type of thing. And the second-year brothers have probably heard it already. The first-year brothers, you will hear it multiple times. But when I was a novice, a holy novice, too bad our holy novices aren't here right now, but when I was a holy novice, we went on vacation. And at one point, we went canoeing in a lake. So myself and another brother in one canoe, and two other brothers in the other canoe. And we started, splashing each other and kind of fighting. And things got a little bit escalated. And at one point, we were able to get a hold of the paddles from the other canoe. And I was in charge of our canoe, so we just took off. And we kept going. And then I was way far out. We just threw the paddles in the water and went back home. So a couple hours later, exactly, we're at dinner, and the two brothers come in, soaking wet, in their bathing suits and bare feet. And I'm like, uh-oh. Because it was my fault. And the brother who was in charge of their canoe was furious. He came up to me and he, why did you do that? And I just looked at him and I said, I don't know. And it was true. It was terrible. And yes, it was me. I was responsible. I chose to do it. But it was a terrible thing to do. We left them in the middle of the lake with no paddles. That was, and when I think about that, I'm not proud of it at all, but I tell the story because what is wrong with the world today? I am. You hear that story and you say, you're right, Father, you are the problem here. I never would have done something like that. But I think each of us maybe can find a story like that. And every time we sin, it's a little bit like that. What is wrong with the world today? I am. So what do we do about it? We just give up? No. That's why Christ came, to heal that divide within us, to heal that sin that dwells in each of us. And what he tells us in the gospel, he gives us a solution. So they're arguing, they're fighting, who's better, and then says, okay, what are you talking about? And they're ashamed, of course. Like, well, we were talking about the weather. And no, we were arguing who's better. Christ, then he takes a child and he says, if anyone wishes to be first, he shall be last and servant of all. So serve. Give up all those ambitions. We always want to be first. We want to be noticed. We want people to pay attention to us. God is paying attention to us. Don't worry about it. You don't need everyone else's attention. That humility, get rid of that. Get rid of that. No, keep the humility. Get rid of the pride. And then taking a child placed in their midst and putting his arms around it, says, whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. Loving God and loving our brothers. That's what the collect, the prayer, the opening prayer today tells us. O Lord, who wanted to base all of your sacred laws on the love of God and the love of neighbor. That's the path to healing all the world's divisions, to solving all the... Sometimes we look at all the things happening in the world and say, how can I help? Be humble. Be charitable. Yeah, but you do that? And if the person beside you does that, and the person beside him does that, the world will be a different place. So just remember, the message today is, what is wrong with the world? Point your finger at yourself. I am. But Christ came to save me. And he gives me forgiveness and the strength to follow him, and especially the strength to love him and to love our neighbor. Practice love of God, practice love of neighbor, practice charity. And that will begin to heal the rifts in the world, but especially begin to heal that division between the good and evil that wars within my own heart.